Another day, another FPL pod. Jack, how are you? Welcome back to the country.
Thanks, Josh. Yep, had a nice little break, little trip to Miami. Didn't go and see Inter Miami, Beckham's team. They weren't playing, so saw the Miami Heat instead. They were good. And yeah, really well, feeling refreshed, feeling good, bit of a tan, back in cold, sunny England. Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, good. Nothing to report. No, Miami level adventures. Just chilling, killing. Heard as well that you still kept your ear to the ground and watched the Prem games and was still tracking FPL.
Still
So
had to do for those TikTok followers that we have many. You'll have seen me talking from Miami Beach about FPL. So you can't escape it. No matter how far you fly, you can't escape the addiction.
Mr. Worldwide.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, I managed to watch it was like a rubbish game as well. I think it was like Everton Burnley. A terrible game, but some little bar in Miami was this like football themed bar was showing it, and yeah, it was good. They showed the Champions League as well, so yeah, it was fun. But Josh, it's been 2 game weeks, hasn't it, since we last spoke? I suppose we've just missed a week. Selfishly, me going on holiday, we didn't do a pod after game week 31. So I guess we very, very quickly touch how we did there and then focus on how we've just done on game week 32, because that's what the listeners will be desperate to hear. So how did you get on in 31? Sorry, 31. I know we haven't discussed this. I've just thrown this on you.
I'm suddenly like, okay.
How did you get on in game week 23, Josh?
What? So 31 for me came in with 43 points. It was a bit of a, that was the game week. Doherty kind of saved me there with 14.
It was a rubbish week, wasn't it? It really was.
It was a rubbish week. For me, last 2 have been terrible. But, that was the week where kind of Kane got an assist and then the kind of Roberts, Weghorst, just blanks from across the board almost. Martinelli, Barnes, Saka, Douglas Luiz on for me.
I feel bad taking you back to this, Josh. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so just
grim.
Bad. So not a lot to report for me there for game week. What was that, 31? Please go back to yours and do yours so I can.
Mine was crap as well, man. The reason I was watching that Everton Burnley game, because I was, it was a part of my big 3-week plan. The first part was to bring in Roberts and Tarkowski, because Burnley doubled, of course, in this week, and they got a point per game each. So thank you very much. Tark and Roberts, absolutely pointless. Bench my Brighton defenders that got a lot more. So thank you very much for that. And they've continued to be awful in game week 32. So back to you. 32's just finished. How have you got on?
Not much better. 43 points for me with a red arrow. You've leapfrogged me. We're doing a little every 3 game weeks. We're just
glad you said it. Now. Glad you said it. But
damn it.
43. What went wrong then, Josh, this week? What's happened?
Just, not a lot went right, I guess. Like things like Doherty, coming off injured, only 1 point for me there. I was tripled up on Arsenal, and obviously they didn't have a great game. Like Saka, Martinelli, and Ramsdale for me, they're just doing absolutely nothing. Brought in Mateta for Dennis, just trying to mix things up a little bit. And I liked the fixtures that they had for this game weekend, the one coming. And he looked good in past the eye test a little bit. He's been doing okay, not lightning form, but he blanked. So that was another little bit of a rubbish move. And then Weghorst and Barnes, 2 that I've brought in, in game weeks not long before that, in preparation for this little spell. I just think made a poor choice with Barnes.
He just gets the odd benching, doesn't he, Barnes? Yeah, we'll talk about the Leicester assets for this week, but Barnes just does randomly get benched now and then, doesn't he? It's weird.
I hate him.
Hate him, yeah.
So yeah, that was the kind of the story. It was
you got the captaincy
Kane
right.
Came in good, but my best captaincy choice that I could have had personally, but was obviously having that Son, envy, and still got it because he is killing it. But what about you? You leapfrog me. So tell the story.
Had a bit of a better week again, but without, like you said, without Son, you feel like you kind of have missed the boat a little bit. Well, if you miss you don't have the highest scoring player of the game week who's pretty highly owned. You feel like, oh, what could have been, don't you? But I can't really complain. 65 points, thanks to Kane, captain like you, Rafinha, and my Spurs boy Kulusevski. He's been a dream for me since I signed him. And then 6-pointer from Mendy and Cancelo with the assist as well, and obviously Salah as well with the assist. So yeah, pretty happy really. I'm the highest I've ever been actually this season, 329k. So nothing to really write home about, but it's nice to be the highest you've ever been at this stage, isn't it? So it's kind of trajectory wise, it means I'm going in the right direction. But still not where I want to be. But I guess that these kind of slightly more risky plays are kind of paying off for me a bit more as we go forward. So yeah, I can't complain.
Yeah, keep doing it. Go with the risky plays.
Keep going. Keep risking. So speaking of risking, we've got a weird game week coming up here, Joshy boy. We've got a very weird one. It's both a blank and a double. So very rare these happens, but tell me who's blanking and who's doubling.
So I'll say, actually, it seems like it's rare to have a normal game week, first and foremost. But yeah, you're right. A blank and a double. We're spoiled this week. So the blank teams are Villa don't have a game. Jack, sorry about that.
Thank God.
Your beloved Villa.
Thank God for that. We've run
you need a break.
Terrible form. 4 losses in a row. Dean Smith got fired for 5 losses in a row. So everyone's like, well, if we lose to Leicester, Stevie, get out.
Don't do that to Stevie.
Yeah.
But yeah, Villa blank, Leeds blank after, they've been kind of turning the corner a bit recently. Wolves blank as well. So they're the 3 teams that are blanking. And then we've got a host of doubles.
Yeah.
Do you want to shoot through them, Jack?
Sure. So we've got Arsenal, Southampton and Chelsea. Burnley play West Ham and Southampton. Brighton, Tottenham, Man City, a tricky one. Leicester, Newcastle, Everton. Man United have Norwich and Liverpool. Newcastle have Leicester and Palace, and Southampton have Arsenal and Burnley. So right off the bat, I would say it's not a tantalizing array of teams, is it, that have doubles this week? There's some gems in there, but the big boys, well, Liverpool, City, Chelsea are nowhere to be seen, are they?
Exactly. And the thing that I was looking at in preparation for the pod today was those teams in particular, recent form. And you'll notice straight away that in terms of results, which I know doesn't tell the whole story for FPL, but in terms of results, Southampton, Burnley and Brighton have some of the worst form in the whole of the Premier League at the moment.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, you're like, well, do you want any assets? And this comes back to that, is a double better than a single when you look at how some teams and players have done in these weeks gone by? But I don't, as a manager who's had double and sometimes triple Burnley because of this. They've got loads of fixtures.
It's brutal.
That's one thing. I could turn back the clock. I wouldn't go anywhere near them.
Yeah, I think with Burnley, I've really misjudged how bad of a miss Ben Mee is for them in defence. He's clearly their talisman captain. Not having him, I think, has really hampered them. And I really regret. I should have seen that back when I was loaded up on these horrendous defenders. And I don't know what the word is on him. I think he was out last time we spoke, wasn't he? I don't think I'm not sure if he's any closer. And that could relegate them, couldn't it? That could send them down.
Yeah. And then Brighton, that's just sorry, I want a mini rant about Brighton.
No, rant
Talk about the beach, but in terms of sand, that's the desert. They're terrible.
They had a quite good game week 32 there, didn't they? No, sorry, 31 they did well because I benched Sanchez and Cucurella for that, and they just beat Arsenal. So I feel like they are. I know what you mean. It's because we expect a lot of them now. What I expect. Yeah, I mean they should have been pushing for Europe, shouldn't they, with their first half of the season? But they're just mid-table, aren't they? Comfortable. So shall we, Josh? Shall we go through each of the doubling teams? Maybe that's the best way to do it, and say, would we go for any of their players really in this week? And if so, who? Or should we just avoid them and you're better off sticking with the singlers? And maybe at the end we talk about which singlers to say you're on a free hit, which I know a lot of people are, or if you've saved a couple of transfers like I have, and you're looking to build as many double as you can, which single players should you stick with this week? So maybe that's a good way to do it.
I like it. I like it.
Good. So Arsenal, Josh, they've got Southampton away and Chelsea away. They've stuttered a bit lately. What's your view on them?
Well, you've summed it up perfectly. They have stuttered. Part of the season where I guess Arsenal fans are really hoping they'd kick on, and they have stuttered and stumbled. And I think they didn't have Ramsdale for a bit. He's come back now, and they're still, leaking goals. And I find it really difficult to say who is the best option in the midfield and attack. Like Laka seems to be passes the eye test, great at linking up play and everything, but he just isn't that much of a threat. And then Saka, Martinelli and Odegaard just seems to be passing the baton in terms of game weeks of doing really well and then doing nothing for a while. And then you throw into the mix that Martinelli is being, rotated quite a bit with Odegaard because of that position. So really, because of all of that, I wouldn't pick any defenders or have Ramsdale. I've got myself, but I wouldn't recommend them because of where they are right now. And the midfield and attack, because of those reasons just mentioned, Saka's the most nailed and is probably as much of a threat as Odegaard and Martinelli. So probably pick him, but I'm not in love with the idea.
No, they've really gone out of vogue, haven't they? A few weeks ago, everyone was like, I wish I had Ramsdale, get Ben White, Saka, Odegaard, Laka, Martinelli. But yeah, I mean, I've never been fully, I can't remember which pundit it was, but they were like, right, they're really good when they're considered to be out of the running. Then they do well. And then they're favourites to get top four. And as soon as they're favourites, they bottle it. So I think that's what we're seeing. They just don't want it. They get there and then they don't want it. So yeah, a lot of young players, maybe they're struggling with the pressure. I don't know. But I've got Saka. I think if you've got Arsenal players, keep them for sure and play them. But I do agree, maybe not. Don't take a hit to bring them in, or don't really bring them in. Even Lacazette, even though there aren't many strikers, I think you're better off using a transfer elsewhere with him. Like 1 goal in 2022, is it, for Lacazette? I mean,
yeah, it's just not. The eye test doesn't matter. Like you need returns eventually, don't you? That's we went through that whole thing with King earlier on this season, didn't we? Where he was just getting the underlying stats, but you need points. And he's just not getting enough.
No. Well, that's Arsenal. Burnley then, Josh. They've got West Ham away and Southampton at home. Not the worst fixtures. They are fighting for their lives, which again is why I thought they'd be quite good to get, but hasn't transpired that way. You said you've got 2 Burnley assets. Are you going to get rid of? Are you thinking of maybe even ditching them for this week or not?
Yeah, Burnley have burned me basically.
Nice.
So I'm just, when you reach that point as a manager where it doesn't matter what the stats say. Objectively, I can't be objective when it comes to them now. Emotionally, they've hurt me. Emotional damage. I want to get them out. So, I can't think of a reason why people bring them in apart from the fixtures, but the fact that they've got doubles. But like you pointed out, they're getting single points anyway. So it's
honestly,
I can't see why you'd pick any of them, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I agree. I think steer fully clear. Like Weghorst, what a joke he's been. Cornet, like the only thing is Cornet and Rodriguez, I think are quite good, but you just don't know if they're going to start. I'm sure they'll get game time because they need their attacking players to do things, but it's just not worth. Again, a bit like Laka, it's just not worth that transfer. I don't think for this week with them.
It's forced, isn't it? Like we're talking about them because they've got a double, but
yeah,
we would not talk about them in any conversation of general terms. Who do you want? And therefore none of them.
Yeah, I'm sad I've got to play. I mean, Roberts didn't even play last week, so I don't know what he's going to do for me this week. But I just, what's happened to him? I mean, I won't miss them if they go down, frankly. I quite like having a little northern plucky team in there that survived despite spending no money, and I quite like Sean Dyche, but I'm not going to miss them. if
No.
they drop. No. Let's move on, because Burnley are depressing us, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Brighton, you've already slagged them off. Do you want to say anything more?
Yeah, again, maybe that was a bit too emotional for me, because you're right. They had 3 losses on the bounce, didn't they? And then, they had the draw and then the win, as you said. But I still think that isn't exactly like groundbreaking form. And they've always been that team, haven't they, where they haven't had massive threat going forward. And if they're leaking goals like they kind of have been, or leaking more goals than they were early on in the season, where do you want to invest for them? I guess Trossard is, still one of those, basically their talisman, isn't he, going forward? So maybe him, but I just don't have a lot of confidence in any of them really. And they're actually, when you look at their kind of the two, like Tottenham away, Tottenham are the informed team in the Premier League at the moment.
Sure.
And then City, and I think City
the
will
fixtures
steamroll everyone in front of them.
The fixtures are despicable, aren't they? Find it for Brighton. I think that's what, if Brighton had Burnley's fixtures, I'd be like, maybe bring a defender in. But I'm stuck with Cucurella and Sanchez. I'm going to have to play them, but I'm not expecting anything. If I get 4 points each, I'll be happy. If they concede 1 goal again, I don't think that'll happen either. But especially against City, I think they're going to get demolished, and City are going to be still raring to go because of that Liverpool draw, aren't they? So, yeah, I'd avoid Brighton if you're bringing them in. But again, I think with any of these teams, we should just caveat and say, if you've got the players, you should probably just play them, no matter how bad they look. If they're Burnley, Brighton, Arsenal defenders, you just got to play them, haven't you? In the double.
Yeah.
But it's whether you should bring them in is what we're debating really here, isn't it?
Yeah.
And really, the first 3, Arsenal, Burnley, Brighton, it's no. So let's see if anyone's worth bringing in.
A hold, but definitely not a buy.
So this is probably our first really interesting one. Leicester City. Josh, you brought Barnes in, anticipating this, presumably. Thoughts on him / the other players?
I mean, he's been a bit disappointing for me, but you look at this double, that's a great double for them. Newcastle away, Everton away.
It's lovely.
Two teams that will need to play and come out, and that's probably good for Leicester because their defense hasn't been great, but their attack's looking a bit better recently. I made the mistake of when I brought in Barnes, it was a kind of a toss-up between him and Maddie. And I think now it's pretty clear that Maddison is the better pick in current form. People might look at, say, it was at Dewsbury Hall with the last game.
And Lookman,
and Lookman. But I think such a small sample of Dewsbury Hall's gone off on one game, basically. So I think Maddison is the better one, the more consistent pick. And you'd say that from the start of the season, wouldn't you? It was kind of Maddison and Vardy are the go-to. And because Vardy's not there now, if Maddison's on the pitch, he's the main man.
Yeah, I mean, they're strikers. With them still in this weird Europa Conference League, Iheanacho is still being rotated, it looks like. So Daka or Iheanacho, I'm not sure who I'd go for there. And Lookman could play forward as well. So yeah, I would say Maddison is the man. I'm going to bring him in this week, I think. And potentially captain him, going with my wild differential times. So yeah, I think Maddison's a great pick, actually. I think he's really picked up his form the last sort of month or so. And yeah, he looked good. Could have easily had a penalty as well at the weekend. And yeah, Barnes, I'm just scared of Barnes. I'm just scared of his rotation, which you suffered from this week. I do like him when he's on the pitch. I don't know why he doesn't play more. There's obviously something there that Rodgers doesn't like. But yeah, I think Maddison is a great pick here, personally. And I think Schmeichel is a good goalie to have. He does make a lot of saves, and there could be clean sheets here.
Yeah, he's forced to make those saves, isn't he?
Exactly, 100%. Their defenders are crap, aren't they?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
We'll see.
Good. All right. So Leicester gets a thumbs up from us for Maddison. I think that sums that up.
Yeah.
So we got one player in, Josh, out of 4 teams so far.
Great. Good start.
And I don't think I'm going to be picking anyone from this team either. Man United, they've got Norwich at home and then Liverpool away. So top and bottom of the table for United. Is that Norwich fixture good enough to tempt you with any of their players?
Not really. And the main reason behind that is not because, playing Norwich isn't enticing. It's because the only players that I would want to bring in are probably the most expensive, and they're not playing well enough to warrant that price tag. So like the kind of Brunos or Ronaldos, and that's really based on their caliber, not recent form. They're just too expensive to bring in for one double game week, and then probably won't want to pass that. But they're just kind of, well, United have been disappointing, haven't they? And their kind of underlying stats back that as well. And I'm looking at, actually just brought up the stats right now since the beginning of March. So that's kind of 5 game weeks, 4 matches for United. They have the lowest XG of all teams in the Premier League since the beginning of March to now.
God, that's awful.
It's just shocking. It's an XG over 4 games for them. So they've played less games than some teams, but 3.04.
They're terrible, aren't
terrible.
they? You love to see it. You do love to see it. But yeah, I think, they are. I mean, my big master plan, it shows how quickly it changes because it's all gone up in smoke. The 2 Burnley defenders were terrible. My next move was going to be Ryan Fraser in. He can do one now because he's not playing. And then the final move was to get Ronaldo in. But I just don't want him at all now after that. A, that performance, and B, that petulant swipe at the old camera for the kid. It was he's just such a embarrassment, I think.
Yeah, that's just not acceptable.
I know you love him, but I think he's atrocious. His behaviour,
like that, it's petulance, as you said. Like it's that kind of bite and fight when they're very good. You call it kind of arrogance and flair, that kind of Ibra side, but that kind of behaviour is just not.
It's not a winner's mentality to behave like that when you're losing, I don't think.
No.
That's a difference between. You can be a good winner and a good loser, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like being competitive is different to being a bad loser. And he's just not. I mean, I don't blame him for being miserable there. I don't think he's really the problem on the pitch personally for them. I think the rest of the team is, but you can't act like that.
And you kind of get the impression that is not going. That's not going to reflect well on how he's going to do well going forward, if you know what I mean. That isn't going to be, that's not the response that you wanted from him. Yeah, of course, he's a winner and he's upset, but he's not challenging it well, is he? Like, that's
exactly
bad.
Yeah, and I wonder if he'll even play in these next games. You just don't know with him. He was like pointing at his injury before it happened, wasn't
he? He'll be injured.
Yeah. He might be. Yeah, he's had a few of those, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So, although you'd think he'd want to play in that Norwich game, it's just that Norwich game that's still slightly tempting me. But any of the United players, I mean, Rashford got a run out and actually looked all right. Had a couple of chances.
Again, it's not enough.
Bruno.
It's not enough, is it?
Nah.
Especially at their price tags, because they're all United assets are all like premiums or just the tier below. So
they're not punts, are they? They'd rejig your whole team levels. I mean, we'll talk about this in a minute, but if I was on a free hit for this week and I was saying, well, yeah, it's a free hit, so you wouldn't need to wildcard them out, I'd maybe consider it with one of them, maybe Bruno. But as I'm not, I just
nope.
It's a no from me, Clive. It's a no from me. Sorry, United. You were close, but you've blown it the last couple. Goodbye. Interesting one, Newcastle. So they've got Leicester and Palace, both home games. Feel good factor around St James's. You tempted by anyone?
Yeah, I think they're looking better. And not amazing by any stretch of the imagination, but I think like they're looking way better than they were, and they've got that like kind of fire in their bellies a little bit. You can see it. And I do think it makes a difference with Newcastle at home. It's a great stadium, and I think they get bouncing a bit, especially with the fact that they're in a good position now. They'll really have something to fight for. Both games are at home. Leicester haven't had a great kind of XGA in the last 5 game weeks, so I would not be surprised if Newcastle score against them. And then Palace have been, you'd say quite good. So that's not a great fixture for Newcastle, really. But I don't know who I'd want from that Newcastle team, because, like you said, the big ones were like Trippier earlier in the season for his injury, and then Frazier was great for a bit and now has kind of dropped off. So like who do you want? Like Sam Maximan, but he hasn't really been
No.
amazing. So
I think wild punt is St Max, but I think Chris Wood is a good shout, and I think I might get him in. I think he's got his goal at St James's now. He got another disallowed goal, and they're just playing generally better. And I think he's the man. He's the highest XG over the last month and a half of any doubling player. So any player in these doubling teams, he's got the highest XG. So that makes me tempted, really, with him. It's not amazing, but none of these teams have amazing players, I don't think, in terms of goal scoring. So yeah, I like
Weghorst and Ronaldo.
Of course, yeah, those guys. But I think those guys are. I think Chris Wood is the stars have kind of aligned for him, and I've got that feeling about him. That feeling of, okay, this is the moment for him. That's kind of how I feel. So I think I'm going to get him. And I think a defender isn't a bad shout. Dan Burns actually got the highest XG out of defenders that are doubling.
Because he's a giant.
And yeah, exactly. And Shah's pretty good as well. Gets a goal now and then. So I think, if you're looking for a defender, I don't think Newcastle are a bad shout. So that's my opinion on Newcastle.
Some other players to recommend. We only had one before that.
Oh no, yeah, it's not looking great, is it? And then it's not ending on a high, really, with Southampton, Arsenal, and Burnley are their fixtures. I think a lot of us might be stuck with a Broja or a Che Adams, like me, but there might be a few Ward-Prowses knocking about. Good to keep and play, but would you bring any of those in?
It's annoying because Ward-Prowse is one of those ones where you're like, he's nailed. He's obviously got great caliber. He's captain, but it's just that thing of he only really scores free kicks and pops up from set pieces. Like he's great with set pieces, but no one's really smashing it for that team that could really stand out. So he's a safe pick, not a sexy pick.
Very true.
And apart from that, it's like, where do you kind of go? Livy hasn't been really doing it. Like Walker Peters has looked all right recently, but like Southampton as a team haven't been great with that form that we were talking about before. So
they just randomly get battered twice a year, don't they? It's so strange. Yeah, that seems to be the only team that capitulate like that. It's very odd, odd, which makes me defensively. I just want to stay away. Like you say, Livramento was great early on, wasn't he? But seems to have lost a bit of spark. So in summary, Josh, we've just gone through all the 8 doubling teams, and I think we've only really highlighted maybe one from Newcastle and one from Leicester. Was that Maddison and Wood? Or maybe a defender from Newcastle, and that's basically it, really. Maybe Saka from Arsenal, but that sums it up, doesn't it? I mean, I guess that leads me on to the next question of, if you had a free hit, if you still had a free hit left, would you free hit in this week?
Well, it always depends on what else you've got. So if you've got free hit and other chips, you've really got to think about, okay, you're running out of opportunities to use them now. So if you only had a free hit left, then, and you didn't have your bench boost or triple cap or whatever, then I'd maybe save it for, what's looking like a 36 or maybe even the 37. But there is the argument that the teams that are doubling this week, you probably won't own a lot of assets, maybe. So maybe you can bring them in. But then to counter that, the argument is, well, they're not going to be high scoring, maybe, because
there's a reason you don't own those assets.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if you've only got that, maybe there's a better 36 is maybe a better shout, or 37. Because as you said, when we went through it now, just nothing is taking your fancy. So I think you'd probably stress yourself out trying to pick the team, because you don't know who you'd want to bring in.
Yeah, I wouldn't use it either. I really wouldn't use it. Even if you've only got a couple of doubling players, we've just gone through there. There's only a couple that are even worth having. So maybe transfer one or two of them in. and then roll with, you've got any Liverpool player, all the Spurs players that are red hot at the moment, your City players. The only thing would be if you've got a few Villa, Leeds, and Wolves players who are blanking, and say you can't field an 11, then maybe it's a different case, isn't it? So a lot of people have Rafinha, maybe a Ramsey or Coutinho, maybe a Wolves defender. So that's the only time I'd be like, okay, maybe I would play the free hit there just to field a full team. But yeah, in terms, just to round off the discussion on the doubles, Josh, the singular players, would you definitely start any single game week player over a doubler? Say you had a doubling 11, but you've got Kane and Salah as well. Would you play Kane and Salah?
Kane, yes, for sure. And Son, yes, for sure.
Right.
And City assets, if you've got confidence in starting like KDB, yes, against Brighton.
But you're sceptical of Salah over United.
The only reason I'm skeptical of Salah is, one, it is United, and I think they'll get up for it. United will get up for it no matter what, even though it's at home for Liverpool. And Salah has taken a downturn in form, and that isn't just in returns of points, that is underlying stats.
Yeah.
So his shots and opportunities have gone down. Great assist for Mane against City, but for large parts of that game he went missing, and there were, maybe it's the expectancy level that we put against him, but he wasn't taking on and beating people like he normally does, like skinning people left, right, and centre. And actually, Cancelo did really well against him, I thought, to mark him. And even when he got past him, there was great cover. So I just think that he's not on it like he was earlier on the year, and so it's worth keeping an eye on. I wouldn't have as much confidence as usual, but what do you think outside of Spurs, Liverpool, and City? Are there any other players or teams that you're like, yeah, I'd start them over the doubles?
Outside of them, I can't really think of any, really, to be honest. Maybe Chelsea, actually, if you've got the Mason Mounts. They've got, I think they'll beat Arsenal.
Yeah.
I think if I had a Chelsea asset, I'd play them. But just on Salah, yeah, I'm going to play him still, I think. I don't think I'd bench him. If I had all doublers, I probably wouldn't play him over a doubler, but I've got in a position where I have to play some singlers. I think I'd play Salah over, say, a Kulusevski, who I've got. So that's the decision I have.
Would he be in your free hit team if you had one?
Oh, good question. No.
I thought that would be the answer. It kind of tells the story, doesn't it?
But that's because I'd be stupid and load up on like United assets. That's not necessarily a good answer.
Fred.
Just the temp. If I was free hitting the Fred Tominay, you've got to get him in, McFred. But if it was a free hit, I would ditch him, yeah. And I might ditch him going forward into the doubles going forward, but we'll see if he doesn't pick up his form. The last time he played United, I remember we watched it together at our friend Tom's, didn't we? And he just absolutely ran and ragged. He was incredible. So let's hope he can do that again.
Yeah, he will return again this season. It's just he's not in that form where he was getting double digits like every week.
He must be knackered, to be fair to him.
Yeah.
He's played non-stop all year. Then he's had the AFCON situation and then the playoff situation that must have just drained him.
Emotionally as well.
Both by Mane.
God damn it, Mane.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Right, I think we've covered that, Josh. I think we've covered the doubles nicely there. Very good, very good. Lovely. Did you want to, we've kind of touched on chip strategy, really. You made a good TikTok about planning ahead for 36 and 37. Did you want to just touch on that?
Yeah, so it was really looking at which teams double in both. And it's actually quite, kind of small number of teams that double in both. So it's Chelsea, Villa, Everton, and I think the last one, I'm trying to remember who's got this. It's Leicester, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so those are the kind of four teams that if you don't have a wild card and you're kind of coming up with some strategy to bring in those players, drip those players into your team from now to 36, then those 4 teams are ones that you can have faith that will double back to back in 36 and 37. But Everton, like, do you want to bring anyone in? Burnley, Villa as well. It's a bit because they had the blank 33. You probably don't want to do anything before now.
Yeah.
And then obviously there are teams probably in their own right that double in 36 that you may want to bring them in and then just make the transfer between the two. So it was just to highlight those 4 teams. But it's not cut and dried because of like the Villa blank and Everton being rubbish in form. So but the other point I was going to ask you is, we covered ship strategy, but if you have a wild card left, like I do, a lot of people do, when would your optimal time be to play that now? I'm assuming it would be taking into account that 36, 37, but when would you do it?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this because I've got one as well. And it's either going to be in 34 or 35, because obviously you can't play one and play the chip. But then if you don't have another chip, so you don't have the bench boost or triple captain that you'd want to play in 36, say, then probably better off wildcard in 36, so you can just get that. You'll have the up-to-date information and you can pick the best 11 based on that information. But because I want to play the bench boost in 36, I'll be doing it maybe 34 or maybe 35. But it's tough. It's tough. I don't know the optimal time, really. What I'll probably do is build out my ideal team for 36 and see how that team compares to my current team in 34 fixture wise, and then just pull the trigger if it's favorable. Getting in those Chelsea players that I'm looking at will be nice. But yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? It's a tough one. What do you think?
Yeah, when I first took a look at it, I like the idea of doing it in 35, and that's because it looks like some of the teams that you want to bring players in for, like the Villa, who've got the double, and Chelsea, for example, they've actually got decent fixtures in 35.
Right.
So Villa have got Norwich in 35. So great, double up, maybe triple up, depending upon how they're doing. Obviously,
yeah. If we've lost that 5 in a row, I wouldn't bother.
Yeah, but I mean, and I like the idea that it's close enough to 36 that it's not 2 game weeks away. So if there's injuries, or like someone form really drops, or they don't start. But again, I don't think there's too much in it if you did it in 34, 35. But just that 35, because it seems to line up with some of those teams having good fixtures.
Good research. I haven't even looked yet. So yeah, I'll probably do that. It's always hard to talk about chips, isn't it? Because everyone's different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a good. If you've got your bench boost left, then definitely play it, or triple capture. Then I'd definitely play it in 36. But with the free hit thing, if you've still got a free hit, which I don't think we do, but if you do have one, I would avoid using it in 33, and I would use it in 37. So get your optimal doubling team in 36, then free hit in that 37 to get another team of 11 doubles. I think that'll be really powerful. And I wish I had my free hit left to do that, because I squandered mine. So yeah, but I think, generally that's what people will be doing, and that's the best strategy, I think, for the run-in.
Yeah, big time. But I mean, we actually run out of game weeks now, aren't we? So there's going to be less kind of number of options or permutations you could actually pick from.
Yeah,
that seems like the best one. I like it.
Very good. Very good. Okay, let's round it off then, Josh, with your plans for 33. So transfers and captaincy. You've had 2 bad weeks. What are you going to do to fix it?
Good. Yeah, good. I think what I need to do is bring in as many kind of decent doublers from this week, and it's really the 2 that you've highlighted already. So I had my on Maddie, which would mean I'll be doubled up for Leicester with Barnes and Maddie.
Nice.
And Wood.
You didn't sound too sold on Wood earlier. You didn't, or Newcastle generally.
I know where you're coming from, and I think he's definitely worth a look. And when you're looking at kind of the other Newcastle fixtures as well, they've got a bit of a nasty patch when you get to 35. But the next three, Leicester Palace in this double, and then Norwich in 34. That's good. But then they've got Liverpool, City, Arsenal.
I mean, wild them out of there. Wild card them the hell out.
Yeah, wild horses, get them well.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe for this three, that's the perfect time to bring them in, because it feels crazy just to bring him for Norwich next week if you don't wildcard, for example.
So who would you ditch? Would you just say goodbye to your recently acquired Mateta?
Well, Mateta's got this week to figure that out. I mean, what's really annoying
he's got this, but this is for. Am I getting confused? This would be the double, right?
Oh, for this one. Oh yeah, I know what you mean now.
So would you bring Chris Wood in for this double? Is what I'm asking. And if so, who would you ditch?
No, because Palace have got Newcastle, so actually I think that's a decent fixture for Mateta.
Okay, so you stick there. Okay.
So I'd probably stick with him, and the other one I'd probably look to get out maybe would be Weghorst. So yeah, it might just be a direct getting out. It feels painful to do that, but I've been burned so much by the Burnley assets that I might just get a double out for a double, and keep Mateta for the single. I think Mateta it's likely to me, it seems more likely that Mateta will outscore Weghorst, which I know sounds crazy. But
no, it doesn't sound quite. I mean, Weghorst hauled off on 55 minutes, I don't think it guarantees he even starts.
I'm probably biased there, as I said, just I hate the Burnley assets.
Yeah, so, you got your shiny new toy in Mateta, don't you? You don't want to get rid of it.
Love him.
It never feels nice bringing one in and then ditching it again, does it? It's never a good thing.
It's a failure. It feels like a failure.
It does. It does. Gotta back yourself.
So that's those. If I did that, if I brought in Maddie, and then that would take me up to 7 doublers, which isn't bad at all. I'd be happy with 7, and I wouldn't want to push it anymore, because, as we said, there isn't anyone that's good that would keep for the following week, in my opinion. So anyone else outside of those two. So yeah,
cool.
Definitely Maddie, maybe someone else.
Cool. And what about captaincy?
Captaincy is the tough one. If Maddie came in, I think I'd be looking at him maybe. I'd like Barnes, but then obviously because of what's going on with him recently, I think Maddie is the better one. I should say I like Leicester. And so if Maddie came in, I think he's a good choice. Outside of him, I think maybe it's a single player who might be best. And that's either Son or Kane. Don't have Son, so I might just stick it on Kane.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will do that. Son and Kane again. Yeah,
he's just in electric form, and I think
they are. They both are. Yeah.
I mean, looking at the stats, I think the last 6 games again, in terms of goals scored, Tottenham in the last 6 games scored 21 goals. The next best is Chelsea, who scored 15.
That's wild.
The gap is huge.
That is crazy. Well, you're making me rethink that.
But yeah, it can always change up, can it? It feels crazy backing a singular, but they are that good at the moment.
They are. I just can't resist it. I just can't resist the double, no matter how bad they are. As it showed with my Burnley defenders, but it really is slim pickings, isn't it?
But what's the plan? What are you going to do?
Yeah, so I'm going to do, kind of alluded to it. So I'm going to get Rafinha Blanca out for Maddison.
Yeah.
And then get Dennis. God bless you, Dennis. You've been with me through thick and thin, mainly thin. Dennis out for Chris Wood. So that would give me 9 doublers, which is quite nice. But that includes Roberts at Burnley, who didn't get a game last game. So who knows if he'll start again. So that'd give me 9 doublers, and then I'd captain. I would captain, or maybe that's 8 doublers. Anyway, I'd captain Maddison, as we've said. I'm pretty set on that, I think. 2 decent fixtures. Yeah,
in form.
Double up. Who've Spurs got actually?
Brighton.
Oh yeah, they could haul there. They could haul. Brighton, they'll be buoyed by that Arsenal win. So maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be different. I don't know. Spurs are on fire though. Yeah, that's just wishful thinking from me. And I've got 2 Brighton defenders, so I'm praying, absolutely praying that doesn't happen. And that's the early kickoff, isn't it? Yeah. So So I'm pretty certain I got 2 free transfers as well, which is nice. So I'll won't be taking a hit, which is always good. That's a good feeling. Very good. Okay. I think that's it, Josh.
That is it.
Unless you had anything else, but no, I think it's another pod in the bag. So yeah, thanks for listening. If you tuned in, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, however you digest us, and like and subscribe if you haven't already.
Check out the TikToks as well. You've been smashing it. Check out your Miami one.
Yeah.
And
yeah, check them out and give us a follow on there. And good luck with the game week.
Yeah. May your arrows be green.
May your arrows be green. Good. All right. Thanks, Josh. See you soon.
Cheers, Jack. See ya.
Bye.